Cyclocross bikes and cyclocross racing are becoming increasingly popular. So what should you be looking for in a cyclocross bike, and what can you expect to get at different price points? Here's Cycling Weekly's guide to cyclocross bikes. First up, let's look at this £1,200 bike from Belgian cyclocross powerhouse Ridley. The most obvious thing you'll get is much wider tyres than on a road bike. Tyres will typically be 32mm or 35mm wide, and you get different tread patterns which work better in different conditions. Being that wide, you can run them at much lower pressures. There'll be lots of frame clearance too, so that you don't get clogged up when it does get really muddy. So typically a cyclocross tyre will run at 40 psi or lower. The bike's frame will also be different from a standard road bike. You'll have a longer wheelbase, which gives you a bit more stability, and typically the bottom bracket is higher off the ground so that you've got a bit more clearance over obstacles. The top tube also tends to be shorter so that you can sit in a more upright position and shift your weight around as you go over obstacles off-road. In a cyclocross race, typically you'll have to shoulder your bicycle at some stage, and so the frame is designed with a wide top tube which allows you to put it comfortably on your shoulder. The other thing which is different from a road bike is the routing of the gear cables and the brake cables. They're typically, as in this Ridley, routed along the top of the top tube, out of the mud and out of the way when you're handling the bike, although a lot of bikes now will have internal cable routing. The other difference is in the gearing. Typically you'll have a chain set with much closer ratios than on a road bike. So this Ridley has a 46-36 chainring, which is classic double chainring setup for a cyclocross bike. Those gear ratios are great for riding off-road, but when you're riding on-road you may find that you're spinning out quite a lot because you don't have a high enough ratio to keep you going on tarmac. To ride cross you'll also need mountain bike type pedals like these speed plays, so that you can easily mount and dismount, and you have shoes which you can run in off-road. Almost all cross bikes nowadays come with disc brakes. A few years ago cantilevers were standard, but they've become very much a rarity, although the top professionals still tend to use them for most races. This Ridley has mechanical disc brakes, although hydraulic disc brakes are becoming more and more common. The Ridley Crossbow has an aluminium frame and carbon forks. It comes with bottle bosses and also with mudguard mounts, although higher spec frames don't tend to have mudguard mounts, and you can get frames without bottle bosses. Because cyclocross races are only about an hour, you typically don't need to drink during them. So if you spend more, what does your money buy? Well, let's have a look at this Rally. First up, you're getting a carbon frame as well as forks, and the weight decreases significantly. So this bike weighs around 8 kilos, whereas the Ridley's coming in just over 10. The Rally comes with carbon tubular wheels. Tubulars are very popular in cyclocross because they can be run at much lower pressures, down to about 20 psi, which gives you better grip in mud and wet conditions, and also avoids the risk of pinch flats. The other difference is in the gearing. This bike comes with SRAM's 1x cyclocross gears. There's a single front chain set and a much wider ratio at the rear than with a conventional chain set, so that you get the same breadth of gear ratios without the hassle of having a front changer. The SRAM setup also comes with hydraulic disc brakes, which gives you that much more bite and better modulation than a mechanical setup. But it's worth remembering too that crosses aren't just for racing. They make really good winter road bikes. They're good for commuting because you have the wider tyres and the grip, and also they're really good for exploring off-road. There's a lot of reviews of cross bikes on Cycling Weekly's website, so if you want to find out more, look online.